We're rolling. Hey. Hi. You're like the same as me. You're just like longer.
Stretched out.
You're just stretched out.
I do feel lanky. When did we meet?
I know it was spring semester, so it was a year ago.
Oh yeah, we went to dinner.
And then we bonded because of your boots. Because I had just bought some
Oh my
boots the
gosh.
day before.
Yeah. I've never seen you in like a school setting because we never went to school together or anything. And your room, your crafting and your art and your style is so different from what I would assume like a pharmacy student's life would look like.
Mm-hmm. It's like people always think you're like either or.
Mm-hmm.
And like not in a weird braggy way or anything like that, but like high school I was prom queen, and when you have that kind of image, it's like you have the image of like the prom queen girl. No, see this is so like you have that mentality. And then I remember when I went into pharmacy school and it was kind of like that, oh, she has the style, she has this and that. And I was wearing like Nike outfits to school. I was doing all that. We talked about that, why I felt like pressure to always be wearing brands and stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like people didn't take me seriously in school. Like the people around me didn't feel like I was a scholar like them. And I mean, I get straight A's and I do all my work that I have to do, but it's like people think you have to be one or the other, and it just gets annoying after a while. Like I remember people would ask me like on days of exams or something like that, I'm still gonna wake up and do my hair in braids and do like different stuff.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, how much time did you spend doing your braids this morning? I'm like 20 minutes. Why are you judging me for being cute on test day? Like, you know, it just comes with like a negative stereotype sometimes, I think.
I guess I just see you as such an interesting person because like you do.
Interesting too.
Well, like I guess when I tell people I'm an artist, they assume everything about me, and like
What assumptions do you feel people make about you just off of that fact of being an artist?
I'm not good at math or science and stuff, which is actually my favorite class in high school was like AP Bio, and I do really like science. Like I watch so many podcasts and like educational content. I guess they also just don't take me seriously, but not because of the way I am, but the way my profession in their mind, like the way it seems.
Yeah.
And I talked about that yesterday during the talk, like people don't take me seriously when I told them I'm an artist. And it got to the point where I would tell myself that I'm not smart. It took my partner to tell me like, you're smarter than me. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I still don't believe that I'm smart, but I actually am. Like, it didn't take me much effort to pass all my classes with like B's and A's. Like, I didn't put that much effort into school at all. Even to this day, it doesn't take me that much energy academically, but it's like, I put all my energy into my work and my passions and stuff.
I think it was it's good when you can have both and realize something like that. Like it didn't take me a lot of effort to get A's and B's because those things were things I was good at, but also not feeling like because you put so much more effort into your work that means your work you're not good at. You know, like sometimes measuring stuff by the amount of effort you have to put into them can be misleading, because it's like, are you putting effort because you're not good enough at it and you have to put more to compensate? Or are you putting more effort because that's just a passion and you truly love it, so you're gonna give it more of your time? And I think that was the problem with pharmacy school. It was like, I didn't have time to put effort into any of my passions. Like any of the paintings I've done or whatever was done during summer. So it's kind of like during the whole like 9-10 months of school, it was just straight like, this is the only responsibility I have. I can't focus on anything else, because that's gonna be it.
I can't even imagine that. I guess for me, school was just not a priority at all. But I know for most people, like school is their biggest priority. I like always struggle with like, am I taking school for granted? Like I got the grades so I could get the grants, and then, you know, I make my own money so I can pay the rest of the tuition and stuff.
It's hard feeling like you take school for granted. And I think I did before I started pharmacy school too, because of, like you said, it was so easy. Like I think in undergrad I was just like getting like A's, and then once I got into pharmacy school, it was the first exam I got a C, and I was like, well, I'm done with this, I'm failing. And at that point I just felt like, if you're not doing fantastic and amazing, then you're not meant to be here. And it's like, you shouldn't feel like that about yourself.
These days, I can't stop thinking. I'm thinking about work, school,
family. I'm sure you guys can relate. Sometimes it feels like life is just taking and taking bits of me away until I'm burnt out and left with nothing but anxiety and stress. So I often get asked how I handle the pressure of it all. While I'm still working on it, I think incorporating these precious moments of me time is really, really crucial. And one of my favorite little ways of having me time is by game time. I'm not talking super difficult or action-packed games. I'm talking games where you can just sit down and relax your mind. So I'd like to thank Gamehouse for sponsoring this video. I came across this company's vision on their website saying we all need our game time, and this resonated with me so well. Gamehouse has a plethora of games that are made to help you relax, zone out, and heal your inner child. There's so many stories to unfold, some being more mysterious while others are more romantic. And I personally really appreciate how cute the character designs are and how much attention is put towards the storyline of the game. The game that I'm playing right now, which is Delicious World, stood out to me because it's a story about this chef named Emily trying to support her family with her small business while balancing relationships. She really is just like me. Game time is me time. So click the link in my bio to play Delicious World for free alongside me or any of Gamehouse's other games, and let me know which one is your favorite for spending your me time down in the comments. Once again, thank you Gamehouse for sponsoring this video.
Oh my gosh, so she almost spilled the syrup on him and he's so angry about it. She said, I'll pay for the dry cleaning. It's just like a K-drama.
What am I doing? I've been trying to thread this and I have not been
I
paying
know, I'm
attention
so
to it.
bad at multitasking. I haven't done a single thing.
I'm making a monstera. It's a little messy sketch, but you know, it's a rough draft. We'll get it there.
Aidalis has so many hobbies. She punch needles, paints, takes care of like 50 plants. You're into thrifting.
Yeah.
What else do you do?
Clay, like
Yeah.
ceramic clay, but just hand stuff, not wheel. Different things. But I mean, I look at you and I'm like, I see what I do as kind of like, I do it whenever I'm bored, you know, just random things. And then I look at you and actually making a business for yourself and growing in your art as an artist and being like, finding your style and finding your passion. I think it's crazy because I just make random stuff. Here I am just like punch needling a monster plant. You know what I mean? There's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just making a random coaster. But then I look at you and I'm like, you know exactly what your art style is and who you are as a person, and then your art reflects that. Like, I think that's beautiful. And it's really hard because I'm like, how does she do that? Like, how does she make that so personal to her? And I think that's something that like is hard for a lot of people to do. So I think that's really good that you're able to.
A lot of people say that to me actually.
Yeah.
Like people in my class are like, you just have a style already. And I get questions about this all the time, like how do you find your style?
Mm-hmm.
And I never know how to answer this because it's not something that I consciously did. Like try to find my style. With clothes and fashion, that's something where I consciously put an effort. Like I'm Pinteresting different mood boards and different looks, and I'm experimenting with that. And I'm still very much trying to find my style with like my appearance at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like you know much more about yourself than you think you do. And I don't go to therapy, so art is very much my therapy.
Yeah.
So when I make my sculptures and illustrations, it's just like, I guess it's just me talking to my inner child.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with like we said with the Flipnote Studio, with the DSI.
Yeah.
I grew up on like video games and just spending a lot of time by myself as a little kid.
Yeah.
So in many ways I've been making art for like all of my life, observing things all of my life, and I don't know, I still just like, I like cute things, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So I make cute things.
And like I made some like polymer clay little tadpole looking things, and when you just saw them, when I made those, I was trying to like, I was honestly inspired by you because you make like your goldfish magazines, like the characters that you make are very representative of your type of art, the cozy, the cute, the adorable. And I was like, I want to make something that does represent me. But then it's kind of weird because I feel like once you already have visions of other artists, your work kind of reflects like other people's work. And then I was like, oh, I feel like my tadpole was just like mimicking like her little characters, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But it's hard sometimes, like I don't know how to find my voice or my art like the way that you found yours. That's what I'm saying. I think it's really hard to find something unique like that you speak into, and it's not necessarily inspired by other people, or it's not comparative to other people's. You know, it's just definitely you. So that's why, I mean, I've tried it and I know it's hard. So that's why I look at you, I'm like, that's really good that she was able to do that.
At the same time though, like, we don't exist in a vacuum and we're all like interconnected in every single way. I don't think that your art has to be special for it to be like you. You could compare a lot of my stuff to like Pokemon, because I grew up watching Pokemon. So whenever I see like my Sakura radish spirit, the desk friend with the flower, I think of the Pokemon with flowers on them. And like a lot of my other characters remind people of other characters, and I don't take offense to that anymore because like I did grow up playing Pokemon, so naturally my stuff is gonna look like a Pokemon. Or I did grow up watching Studio Ghibli, so like of course it's gonna remind someone, and I'm honored by that.
Yeah.
And Studio Ghibli, it was probably based on the characters that they saw when they were kids, and the folk stories of Japanese spirits. Like, it's based off of their culture.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know about like the spirits.
Yeah, so it's just like everything comes full circle. So when you're like making art, you don't have to be like, I have to be different from everyone else.
Right.
You're not special.
There's so much pressure to like not come up with your own thing, but just do something that is unique to you. And there's like, it's true. Oh, I don't know if that's for every artist, but I do feel like, at least for me, there is that pressure, like that if I were to come up with something, it has to be something that's worth it, because there's nobody else is gonna find anything like this anywhere else. So for example, about, I think it was the COVID summer, so like 2020, I made these like album covers. So I was gonna donate all the money to like a therapy for Black girls and women. How do you have that confidence in yourself? I guess that's a separate question, but how do you have the confidence in yourself to like sell things and know that your art is worth it? Like, you deserve that because you've done a lot of hard work for that.
Putting value in yourself is like one of the hardest things that anyone has to do, regardless if it's art or not. But I don't know, just the fact that your friend was like, you should sell these, like that should have been affirmation enough for you to feel like it's worth something. The way I look at you is like, you're so amazing because you can still do all of this while studying and doing pharmacy stuff.
I think I had to compartmentalize a lot of things. Like, if it wasn't summer or it wasn't any sort of break or free time, there was no thing I was doing besides studying. Like, I would get home from the pharmacy, like from work or internship, whatever it is, study more, take a nap, study more, and then wake up and do an exam, and then go home and study again for the quiz the next day. So I just felt like my life was on like repeat, and it was just like endless days of nothing sustainable. So I was like running on empty, and then on the summer I'd be like on a high of just like creating so many things and having all that feminine energy and feeling like myself. And that's why I think like my life in general has just made, like, either you're doing school or you're doing creative like stuff, you know?
Do you think it starts off like intrinsically, or do you think it's just like you find what you're good at and then you cling to that?
That's crazy that you asked that. I was literally having a talk to myself. I was wondering why I'm not very like committed to my art, and it's because I only know so much. So like with the clay, I'm really into like the building, but about glazing, you see all those things in my closet that are unglazed. Like, I'm so like avoiding the glazing process because I don't know how it works. Or like the piano that I have, right? I can play the piano if I know all the letters, but I've tried to read sheet music and I get into it for like 5 minutes and I give up because I'm like, no, it's too hard. So I only know like a certain amount of information about each of my hobbies, and once it gets too complicated, I just give up, you know? So I was asking myself, I was like, why do I do that? Why don't I have a passion to like really learn about this and get deep into it and understand what I don't know? And I was like, I don't think my hobby is like having hobbies. My hobby is just doing things that I'm just happen to be good at. You know what I mean? The minute that it gets too overwhelming, it feels like it's not a hobby anymore because it's not enjoyable. And that's why I said it's interesting that you said that, because I was like, yeah, I think sometimes my hobby is just doing things that I happen to be good at. This stage of my life is just full of unknown stuff. Because, like, honestly, I don't want to be a pharmacist. But, like, I'm hoping that I will come to love the thing that I have excelled in. So it's not just a job, and it does actually become a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Not that I want pharmacy to become a hobby, but something that I enjoy. Not something that I feel like I have to do.
I get a lot of questions about if I believe whether or not you can grow to love something. Because the reason I chose to be an artist was because I didn't like anything else. I hate listening to people, and I like to do my own thing, and I like just creating. But I imagine myself, like, what if I truly did feel the pressure to like get a real job? Like, would I be able to learn to love it? And I think it's possible for everyone to learn to love something.
Do you think it's something that easier said than done, just because it takes so much more work to like put yourself in the position and say, even though I don't love this right now, like, I'm not gonna claim that for the rest of my future. I'm gonna claim that this will grow on me. You know, I will do this with joy and not out of obligation. I think it's so much work to like tell yourself that, to then have to believe it. Sometimes just telling yourself is like the hardest part. It's like, do I even believe what I'm telling myself?
Yeah, I don't know. It really just depends on the person. Because I know some people, they do something out of necessity at first.
Yeah.
But then it's fulfilling because of the people that you're surrounded by. The work is important, and it gives you purpose.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. It's purpose. Like, we don't know our purpose in this world all the time, and that's okay, but feeling like you have none is the most discouraging part of exploring new hobbies or new areas in life. So if you don't feel like you have a purpose in what you're currently doing, it just makes you feel like, okay, well then I'm just gonna stop doing it because it's not doing me any good. But being able to explore, like, even if I don't know my purpose in this now, maybe it'll come, you know? That was one of the things I was gonna mention with diabetes, because I have type 1 diabetes. It was kind of like getting diagnosed with that. You're like, for what? You're like, why? And then being in pharmacy, like, I've actually used what I have in like a lot of positive ways. Not saying my purpose of getting diabetes was so that I could connect with patients, but it's something that I found is something that I can do with it, you know? But in the moment when you feel like you have no purpose to it, it just feels like everything's a waste for that kind of thing, you know? But like, eventually you find something that makes you feel like, you know, it ain't too bad. I mean, diabetes is hard to live with in general, but it's good to know when you can make an impact in someone's life because you can relate to them in a certain way. And I think that helps a lot with your purpose. Or like even you, being an artist. It makes you feel like part of your purpose isn't just creating, but it's the way that people feel by the things you create.
Exactly. And I talk about that all the time. Like, it really does give me something that's like bigger than myself. And it's not just, oh, I'm an artist and I make things. It's like, I make things for other people. And that sounds weird because a lot of people go into art because they like making things for themselves. They don't like authority or whatever.
Yeah.
But a truly big part of making art, at least like making art into a business, is recognizing what people need and recognizing what people want. So I recognize that people needed comfort, and that's something that's always gonna be there. And for the people that like I'm making commissions for, it's like a lot of the times they're seeking comfort because they lost someone. Or they want to just be always reminded of that love that they experienced or those memories that they had with them. That's like a purpose that's bigger than myself. I'm not making just something just because it's cute, or I'm not making something just to make a buck. It's like I'm making something to help comfort someone in like a tangible way.
Yeah, I think that's where, I think the one time that I felt, because I'm not saying I feel like I have no purpose in my art, but when I do my art, it's more so like you said, you're just doing some random thing. Like right now, me making this little Monstera coaster, right? It's not that there's a purpose to it. I'm just doing it because it'll be cute, you know? But the one time that I did feel like that was what I said about the making the album covers and like donating the money. That was one thing that I was like, okay, I'm actually making a difference with my art, and I can do this and actually have it affect people long term. And I was like, that's something that I feel purposeful in. But I feel like with my inner child, I feel like I always felt when I was little, like, if you're not doing it for a reason, then what's the purpose? Like, if there's not a specific point of you doing it, then why are you doing it? And I feel like I had to tell myself over years, like, sometimes there doesn't have to be a point. Like, it's just making stuff just to make it. So, like, that's why I'm okay doing stuff like this, but I still struggle with that inner dialogue, I think, with having to feel like if there's not a identifiable purpose, then there's no reason to do it in the first place. I think I'm still struggling with that a little bit. and like correcting those old beliefs.
Because what is my value in this economy and in this
Right.
life?
Right.
If I'm not making something for a reason that everyone can understand.
Yeah, or that everyone can somehow benefit off of.
Yeah, I mean, that's my whole story of being an artist. It's like, art isn't a necessity. My sculptures aren't a necessity. It's definitely something that's extra. But just like, I don't know, we all have a place in this world, and I feel like, I don't know if you believe in past lives or anything, but I truly feel like I was meant to be like a creative in this life.
And I think that's crazy that you say that, because I, you know, the TikTok tunnels, I was watching a video on past lives and stuff like that, and somebody was saying a similar thing, but not about art, about whatever else that they were doing. And I was thinking about it, and I never really believed in it, but I was like, if that were true, like if that were something that there's some other dimension or some other lifetime where I'm doing something, could I imagine what that would be? Would that be art, or would that be school? Like I said, I'm always like either or. So that's part of what I'm saying, like how you're like, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. I can't imagine myself doing other things because I feel like I've forced myself to do other things, you know, and I haven't fully discovered like what's authentically me versus what I feel like I've been forced to do to succeed, you know? So it's like, I always wonder about that whole past life thing, and I'm like, I don't know what a past me would have done. And like that's part of this journey where I am discovering myself, and that's why I'm excited to graduate so I can actually separate myself from school and see who am I without school. I feel like I've been identifying myself with school since like elementary school. Like if I didn't get a good grade or if I didn't get something, it meant something about my character. And like, you shouldn't think that as a little kid. And it's not like it was my parents necessarily who made me feel like that. It was just me. Like I had this inner pressure on myself for whatever reason. And that was the only way that I actually identified myself. And like, you identify yourself as an artist, right?
Yeah.
If you were to ask me that, like, you know, a few years ago, I'd be like, I'm a student studying pharmacy. Like that's the way I would actually just identify myself, you know? And I just wish there was more to it, but that's been a struggle. But that's why it's kind of like, at some point you will discover what's meant for you. And if art is meant for you, or school is meant for you, or business is meant for you, like you'll grow to learn what path you're supposed to be on, even if you don't know it right now.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who was feeling like you were, like they didn't know their purpose in life? Or because I get a lot of comments on people saying like they feel lost, and
I think that's hard because I haven't fully gotten out of that mindset. Like I said, because I'm still searching for myself, but at the end of the day, that search never fully ends. You're always learning about yourself, and you're always trying to see which parts of you accurately line up with the person that you feel you are versus which ones were kind of put on you by other people or put on you by yourself because of expectations from other people. And over time, you'll just learn it, but there's no shortcut to it. You literally just have to keep experimenting and seeing like, does this fit me? Does this make me happy, truly happy? And is this something that I feel like needs to be continued in my life?
It's funny how you were saying like what am I without school? That's sort of how I feel right now. Like, what am I without my work? And it makes me emotional because like I feel like I've been on such a journey to like prove myself to others that my work is worthy, and I do tie myself so much to my work. And like I think one of my friends asked me, if you were to just describe yourself with one word, like what are you?
You're like,
and I was like, in these past 3 years of like building up my business, making money to support my family, to prove to society that what I do is valid, and helping uplift others to tell them that their dreams are valid and it's totally possible to become an artist and to thrive like emotionally and monetarily. But nowadays it's just like, if someone just took away my work, like what would I even be doing? Like I took a break in December after I shipped out like 100 of those orders.
Yeah, I remember.
And then it was like, what do I do now? We're both still so young, so we're still navigating this, and like you said, like it'll never end. But like I separated myself from school. Like I didn't care about my grades, I just cared about my work. And And then now it's like, what am I, you know, without my work? I'm a creative.
Right.
I create things, but I don't know. We're both graduating this year.
We are. Say it's something that's kind of scary because it's like, what do we do? Because this is like when it really starts. And you don't want to put all this pressure on yourself. But also you're like, there is a lot of pressure. Not to like be somebody specific, but to be someone that you're proud of after all this work.
Are you not proud of yourself right now?
Not always. Just because, like we said, like comparison is always a problem. And I look at other people in school and I'm like, those are the real pharmacists. Those are the people that are gonna make it. I'm gonna kill somebody. Like, I get so paranoid. Like, you know, this is gonna be really hard, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm the person for this job. Especially because I do get like more paranoid than some people do about this job itself. And yeah, it's just like an imposter syndrome type thing where I don't feel like I actually belong in this field. So it's not that I'm not proud of the work that I've done. I'm just not sure that the work that I've done has made me feel any more confident about who I am in this field. So it's hard having to like graduate and actually put yourself to a test. And I'm like, I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out if I truly am bad at this, you know? It's one thing to like feel like you might not be good, and then to see yourself not being good, it's kind of like, dang, that sucks. So it's like, I'm just trying to avoid that. But you can't avoid it. You're gonna have to see eventually and like put yourself out there and see if the things that you've practiced for are things that you feel like you can do for your life, you know? And I think that's the scary part.
That's how I felt about the event yesterday. Like, oh, I've talked to a camera for like 2 years. Can I talk to real life people and like a crowd of people?
Yeah.
I think I told you this, but I do try to live by a mantra of just like making myself uncomfy, respecting my boundaries, of course, but also like pushing myself, testing myself.
Yeah. Do you feel like you, at any point, not specifically in art, but in anything, have ever regretted pushing yourself at any point? Like you were like, yeah, actually I didn't like that and I shouldn't have tried to like that any more than I already didn't.
Not once.
Good.
I don't think so.
That's good.
I guess I am blessed because I just truly do like know myself. I still struggle with like knowing my value, but I know myself well enough to know my boundaries and to know what I want. And I just knew that I always wanted something bigger in my life, to reach a wide amount of people and to just like, I've always been sensitive and emotional too. But I knew that being vulnerable can be a strength and an asset. So like, I don't get embarrassed when I like tear up or like when I choke up, because it's all like, I'm just a human.
Right. A little human.
I'm just like a sappy little human.
She's so cute. What app is that, Procreate? So cute. My Monstera leaves are taking their time to appear. So I'm going very slow at this process. I don't know what's wrong with my yarn, but it keeps slipping out, so it's going by very slowly. But do you feel like as you're creating your content and you're doing things, that you're learning more about yourself throughout the entire process?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I learned mostly that although I just said I'm sure of myself, there's still so many things I don't know about life in general.
Yeah.
A lot of my audience is actually older than us, and 30% of them are men, actually.
Men want to be comfy, okay?
Yes, they do.
Men want comfy.
I was so surprised by this because on Instagram and TikTok, my demographic was like 90% women. But on YouTube, it's 30% men.
You think that men just want to watch cars and watch all the... No, they just want to watch cute clay creation.
Like artsy boys. And all of them who do comment, they're all so wholesome. And they're so sweet. And a lot of them like talk about their wives and how they want to start their own business, and it's just so nice.
That is really cute. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. During the panel yesterday, was there any like of the questions that really stood out to you, or like any of the answers that stood out to you?
I think when you guys were talking about like the algorithm and stuff, and you were like, sometimes it's not the algorithm, it's just you. So I was like laughing in my head. And I know one of my friends who's a creator and stuff, she gets very frustrated by the algorithm and stuff, because she's like, one day I post on my story, I get like 700, 800 views, and then other times I get like 50 views. She's like, what's happening, you know? And it's something that makes her feel like it's unpredictable and it's not a stable way for her to make money or something like that. And she gets frustrated. So I thought that like, I've never had that issue because I'm not creating content about the things that I do, but seeing that from her perspective, when she talks to me about it, and then hearing that question, and then hearing you guys talk about it, even Bruce is his name, right? Even Bruce was saying, like, sometimes the algorithm's your best friend, and sometimes it's your worst enemy, but you just gotta, like, take the punches as they come and just roll with them.
Yeah, like, obviously I love the algorithm when something goes viral, but at the same time, you have to recognize that, like, there are still so many things that are in your control. And I don't like it when people blame the algorithm for everything, because sometimes I post something and it is shit. Like, I look back on it now, I was like, yeah, that was not a good photo.
That's so funny.
Half of it is luck and half of it really is just like willpower and hard work. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing that I'm this productive.
I think
it's definitely not healthy. Like, it's
well, you gotta ask yourself, like, the motivation behind your productivity, right? Like, are you being productive, like you said, because you don't feel worthy or something? Like, like the validation that you were talking about is because I'm searching for validation that's why I'm being productive? Or am I being productive because it's part of my routine that helps me feel healthy? Or, like, is there a good motivation behind it? Or is it something that is derived from something else that's not healthy?
For sure. I do think, like, half of it is my routine, like the fact that I plan my day out, I try to exercise regularly, I wake up in the mornings, like, I'm a very much morning person. Which is so weird to me because I'm like, we're so similar in so many ways, but that's like the one big difference. Like, I am a total night person and you're like bright and early sunshine. I hate the night. I told you, nighttime scares me. I get spooked. I feel so comfy at night. I'm just in my little dark box in my room and just But don't you ever just like look out the window and like, what if someone is staring at you? Literally, I've never closed this window because of all the plants there, so this stays open like all night. And I just literally have no fear. I like the way my window is set up, the moon shines like directly in my room. So it's literally so peaceful at night. The moon is shining, I have candles, I feel like so great. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe that's a problem that I'm not spooked by sleeping with my window open, but yeah, I don't know. I watch too many crime documentaries. Me too. You listen to a lot of crime podcasts? I do. And it's too much, honestly. It's not good for me.
Rusty red on her shoulder, I was cleaning her shoe when it clicked on the trot over in the bright morning dew. We brushed and we braided dandelions and chewed. It was a mutual